Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. I'm up in my cabin, and this is the winter time, and it's a time of year I like to do a lot of meat curing. I have weird hobbies, my wife says, and one of them is making prosciuttos. I make salamis, pastrami's, sausages, all kinds of stuff like that. I love doing it, and I love sharing it with friends. Today I'm going to share with you how I go about doing it. There may be some of you that have thought about doing it and wanted to try, so this is your chance for learning a little bit about it. So this prosciutto I have here in front of me, I took it out of a cellar this morning downstairs. It's been curing for about a year. It is all ready to go. It can just be sliced thinly, used on a sandwich or a piece of cantaloupe, whatever way you choose. It is absolutely delectable. You could use a meat slicer if you want, slice it up razor thin. Melts in your mouth. There's a lot of salt content, so you can't eat a lot of it, but you never do. With prosciutto, it adds just a ton of flavor. It starts out as nothing more than a pork leg. This pork leg that I got, it's $21 for 21 pounds of pork. They come on sale once a year. Most areas have them on sale in the wintertime, and it's so you can make some of these specially cured meats. I'm going to tuck this away because if I leave it out, I'm going to want to keep eating it and eating it. And I'm going to take you through the steps on how to make prosciutto. Now you're going to want to make sure you have a really clean work surface to begin with. So I've got a large sterilized cutting board. I prefer to use gloves when I'm doing this. You'll rinse off your prosciutto in the sink. You'll pat it dry with paper towels, then it's ready to go. When you get it from your butcher or grocery store, they usually there's a bone attached here that's attached to the hip bone. It's called the H bone, and we need to remove that. You can do one of two things. One, you could just ask your butcher to remove it for you, and that'll expose the ball joint. Or the other is you can do it yourself, which I'm going to do right here. I don't know how easy it's going to be able to see with the video, but if you're feeling around, you'll see the bone is right here. All we're going to do is take a sharp knife. I have a surgical knife that I use, and I'm going to start to slice along it, exposing it. You can see the bottom part of it right here. This would be the pelvis bone. And the secret is just small cuts as you're going. And you're just trying to remove the meat from the bone. I'm not sure if you can see from the camera, as I start to pull this pelvis bone back, you can start to see the ball of a ball socket. All I'm going to do is take the knife here, and I'm just going to separate the tendon or the ligaments, and that's opening up the ball socket right there. I'll continue to remove the bone from the rest of the meat. There we go. And that's it. That's all been removed. Now what you have is the ball joint, and just the ball of it. The rest of the bone runs up the leg. All you'll do now is you'll trim up the meat. So any loose meat that you have, just trim that around and clean that up a little bit. To make the curing process go a little bit easier, I like to remove a little bit more of the skin. So I'm going to take a cut and just remove this portion of the skin so that one side is going to have all of the skin, and the other side it's going to open up a little bit like this. It's going to allow for the drying process to take place easier. It's also going to allow for the absorption of the salt to cure the product. So I'll start with just making a little cut in a circle. There we go. Then I'll pull the skin back a bit, and I'll remove the fat and the skin from this portion. Again, if you're not comfortable with doing this, you can always ask a butcher to help you out. I've been doing this for a very long time. It's second nature. There we go. Okay, now we've got that piece exposed and we're ready to start. So curing of meat has been, it's the oldest form of preservation that is around in history. I don't know how many years it goes back, but it goes back for virtually forever. Prosciutto is Italian style dried ham. People would do this in Italy and keep it in their cellars and cure it. Just natural salts will take care of it. So it inhibits any of the bacteria growth. So when you have your prosciutto ready, I'm going to transfer this now into a tub where we're going to do the salting of it. So prosciutto's in a tub right now. It's just a lot easier to salt it when it's in one place. The salt that I'm going to use is a combination. I use a 50-50 mix. 50% is coarse salt, also known as pickling salt. 50% of just regular table salt. I mix them together in a bowl. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on. And then you're going to want to work this in. And you just rub that into the meat. We're going to sprinkle a little bit more in here. And you really want to work your way into the area around the ball joint and all that area that you've cut. Now what happens in the curing process, the salt is going to draw moisture out of the meat. It's going to draw itself into the pork leg, and that's what's going to cause the curing. And this takes place over a period of about 14 days when I cure a pork leg. I'm putting a lot of salt on, but it doesn't matter how much I'm going to sprinkle on right now and how much I'm going to rub in. The pork leg is only going to take in a certain amount of salt. It's going to reach an equilibrium. And it does that over a period of about 14 days. While it's doing that, it's going to draw moisture out of the pork leg, which is going to drip inside the tub. So I'm going to finish rubbing salt on it. Take your time, rub it all over. The salt's not going to stick to the skin, but you don't have to worry because it's all going to pull into the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing this portion. While you're doing the salting, remember that at the top part of the hock that's also exposed, you need to make sure that you're adding salt and you're working the salt into that area as well. You can use your fingers and just dig that right deep inside. There you go. I'm doing this inside today. Normally, you know, if we didn't have a pandemic, I would be doing this with a number of my friends. We'd have some red wine on the go, and we'd be doing it outside, generally in the cool, crisp air, and we wouldn't worry where the salt's all going to go. In filming this today, and because we can't get together with friends in person, I'm having a chance to do it indoors and in front of the camera. The salt's all rubbed into the prosciutto now. I'm going to keep this in a cool area. What you want to do is somewhere around 2 to 4 degrees in temperature. This could be in a garage if you're in a closed climate and you have an unheated garage, or maybe you have a shed outside that's going to keep a consistent temperature. There's a lot of people that keep a spare fridge in the garage for, you know, in summertime, keeping beverages, etc. You take a rack out and you could put this inside the fridge as well. So just keep it in a refrigerated area. That's very important for the next 14 days. What I'll do now is I will slide this prosciutto inside of a plastic bag, and I'm going to put it back in the tub here. And I'm going to leave it with the skin, or with the exposed side facing up, the skin side facing down. And I will probably put a weight on top. So things that I'll put on for a weight are a patio stone, a cinder block. I'll put them in a plastic bag. I'll stick it over top. It'll just keep pressure on, which is going to help that moisture be drawn out of prosciutto. Every second day, I will remove the brick. I'll take the prosciutto out of the bag, and I'm going to add more of the salt mixture, and I'm going to rub it around and work it in with my hands. I'll put the bag back on it. I'll put the weight back on it. I'll put it back into the cool area. 2 days later, I'll repeat the process. And I'm going to do that for the next 14 days. If you were thinking this is a fast recipe, it's not. It's an inexpensive recipe. So that pork leg's around $20. The salt's probably, I don't know, $5, $6, but it is going to take 12 months, 365 days for this recipe to go. The first 2 weeks are a little bit time intensive because every couple days you have to work it along. But after that, it gets a lot easier. So I'm going to be doing this video in a couple of stages and a couple of steps. So this is part 1. In 2 weeks' time, I'm going to show you what we do next with a prosciutto, and then I'll put a couple more segments so that you can see it from start to finish. If you enjoy and want to learn more about curing meats, just leave a comment or send a note onto my Facebook page, because I was thinking if there is interest, I'll show you how I make pastrami or maybe salami or sausages. So if you've always wondered how it's done, I'm happy to share that out with you. Just leave a comment and let me know. I will get this in a bag and I'll get it into a cool area. We'll see you in a couple of weeks to show you the next part of the process. Thanks very much for joining me in the kitchen, and have yourself a safe and wonderful week.